Good afternoon, everyone. On this August 26th of 2021, I'm Mayor Diana Broderson, and welcome to our city. We have a great show today, and it's a little bit different. We've done some changing. Are some amazing events coming up that we wanted everybody to have an opportunity to know more about. So we've done some shuffle and changing, and we have Melanie Alexander here with Muscatine Art Center, and we may have a special guest join us. It just depends, last minute notice as we're trying to get this information out so that everybody has an opportunity to get this on their schedule. I just wanted to give a couple of brief updates. Vaccination rollouts. As you all know, we're not in a good way right now with the pandemic. We actually had 100 new cases this past week, and our local public health estimates that we have 644 active cases of COVID in Muscatine County right now, which is so scary for all of us. But let's everybody try to do their best to stay safe and protect you and your family. We do have 59% of Muscatine County residents fully vaccinated, with 41% of eligible people still needing to get their vaccine. So keep an eye on that data if you can, and stay safe, everyone. Next, I just wanted you to please save the date for the community block party. It's going to be held at the Muscatine Environmental Learning Center, Discovery Park, September 10th from 5:30 to 7:30. This is a free event for the entire community, and it truly is a collaborative event. So people from all over the community, organizations, nonprofits, businesses, come together to put this free event out for the community. Hy-Vee comes and serves hot dogs and chips. There's all kinds of food and snacks and balloon animals and snow cones and activities and crafts and relay races. And you even can take a ride up in the Muscatine Power and Water lift truck and check out our fire trucks. And there's just so much going on that night. And the theme this year is reduce, reuse, and recycle. That's something that we all know is important. This day and age, we've got to keep an eye on what we're doing and making sure that we are empowering our youth to learn about ways that they can be more green as well. So we hope you can join us for this really fun event. And lastly, tonight is the Almost Friday Fest from 5 to 8 on the Muscatine Riverfront. There's not a council meeting tonight, so grab your lawn chairs and come on down to the Almost Friday Fest. The Duck Derby's going on down there. That's a really fun thing they've been doing every year, so you won't want to miss it. If you can stand the heat, come on out.
Lori's texting.
Well, we do have Melanie Alexander from the Muscatine Art Center with us tonight, and she has got some great activities coming up. And I know many of you have seen the new sculpture that has been placed out in the yard at the Muscatine Art Center, and we're going to learn more about that. Welcome, Melanie.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm so glad you could come. I'm so excited about this sculpture dedication. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh, sure. It's been actually a couple of years in the making for us. So I know it's been kind of a surprise for the people who, haven't been, maybe in the loop for what the Art Center has going on. But we've been working with artist David Zahn. He's out of Moline on this piece. I think we were first in touch with him back in 2018 or 2019. And the piece is called Expressive Spirit. It's bronze. And David had developed this as a maquette, as an idea many years ago. And when we saw it, we just fell in love with her. It is going to be dedicated to Mary Jo Stanley, who served on our support foundation for the Muscatine Art Center for 26 years. So a huge commitment on her part. And she had such a passion for both visual arts and performing arts. And of course, Dick and Mary Jo did so much good for our community and the state of Iowa and beyond. So we're just delighted to have a way of celebrating especially her legacy. And it's just a fantastic piece to, you know, kind of mark the area around the Art Center as being a public space. You know, the beautiful historic house blends so well with the rest of the neighborhood. So this is also a signal that, hey, we're open to the public.
Oh, yes. And I mean, it is so heartwarming. I love just looking at it.
Yeah.
I just love, and it makes you feel about Mary Jo. You know, I mean, she loved all of the arts. She was such a good friend to so many, and certainly to the Art Center, but as you say, all performing arts really even. But
Yeah.
so the dedication, so the sculpture is going to be dedicated to her on September 9th.
That's right. Yeah, there's a huge event for us, and we're so excited. Hancher Auditorium is bringing Step Africa. So they brought the ballet to Muscatine back in May on the riverfront. And
Yes.
this, as far as I know, is the first time we've had an event, a Hancher event, take place on our grounds. So we're so excited about it. And you know, Dick and Mary Jo were huge supporters for Hancher, and I feel like we share some DNA within our organizations.
Oh, yes.
That, you know, they were so instrumental for both of us. So it's really a lovely way to mark the occasion and to have a party. And you know, the director of Hancher, Chuck Swanson, he really believes that Mary Jo would love the performance, and the sculpture too. So we're hoping for a crowd, and so that's kind of the huge centerpiece for the event. But we actually start the event at 4:15 with a ribbon cutting, and we'll have some remarks then before we segue into the performance.
And the ballet that came and this past summer, oh, it was so amazing. I couldn't tell you how many people shared their pleasure over what they got to witness and see.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal turnout for the riverfront, and you know, it's just really special, I think, to have people together and to see a live performance and sort of share that moment. And yeah, there was some just phenomenal pieces in there, but yeah, you know, just a great deal of fun. And I heard from people you know, over the weeks and months since, that how much they enjoyed that, and just kind of being together and enjoying live performance again.
Oh, sure. So where is the ballet going to be performing at then?
Okay, so this is Step Africa, and they'll be here on the grounds of the Muscatine Arts Center. So
outside,
what's that?
Outside?
Yes, they'll be outside.
Okay.
It's an outdoor performance.
Okay.
We're working with the team at Hancher to identify exactly where they're going to set up the stage. But yes, it's an outdoor performance, and people are invited to bring blankets or lawn chairs. It's I think the performance is going to be about 30 minutes. It's not a super long event, but you know, enough that you might want to be seated during it.
Sure.
Yeah, and you know, Step Africa, they've partnered with Hancher in the past too. And I think when Chuck was building his schedule and had made arrangements for them to be in Iowa, and knowing that we had this sculpture going up, thought it would be, you know, just remarkable to have Step Africa here in Muscatine and to be part of that whole event and experience. So
it's perfect.
Yeah.
So this is open to the public.
Right.
They can come for the ribbon cutting and then stay for the and hear a few words and stay for the performance.
Yes, that's right. So yes, the idea is, you know, come for the ribbon cutting. We're hoping for a lot of people out on our lawn to see the performance. It's something that, you know, Step Africa has not come to Muscatine before, so it's really a special event. And also we'll have artist David Zahn. So he's the sculptor who created Expressive Spirit. He'll be here, and you can meet him and visit with him and hear about his process. I think you've pulled up some images from when the sculpture was, there's David with the full-sized sculpture there before it's gone to the foundry. And then there's some really amazing photographs of taken while it was at the foundry. It's just sort of to get that finish on it. It's just been a thrill to work with him throughout that process, and to learn about how these bronze sculptures are created. It's just been such a learning experience for to see it sort of step by step evolve. So he started with a fairly small maquette. I think it was maybe about 18 inches, and then moved up to another maquette in clay that was about double the size, and then went for the full size that went off to the foundry to be made. So and it's with COVID, it kind of threw us off for a while.
Sure.
We had the sculpture was commissioned, and it was actually completed last year, and it spent probably close to a year in storage, since we just weren't ready with the landscape. And
Sure.
yeah.
What a fabulous opportunity, and the fact that it's outside, so those that are concerned about getting out and being around others when you're outside, we all know that's a much safer environment. So I think it's perfect, and hopefully we have fabulous weather also, and not have to worry about that. I just think it's just a great opportunity for us to see and learn. We can all learn more about, like you say, the process on how it all developed, and really
so when you just look at the landscape and the sculpture from sort of the mulberry side, you can see the sculpture pops out of the landscape now, but we've also created a pathway that's more handicap accessible to be able to get up to the sculpture. And also it goes down into the foundation where the Jane House was located before it was removed from its foundation. So we can actually use that space now for performances. We have Eulenspiegel Puppet Theater coming in October. So the plan is for them to give their performance in this area that's sort of just recently available and accessible to us. So we're very excited about that. And we're looking for other types of programs and events that we can hold in there. It's just a foundation of a house, so it's not a huge area, but for especially events that are targeted to kids, where we may have 30, 40 kids and some parents there, it'll be just a lovely space. Several years ago, we had the Mad Creek Mudcats perform in that area. So that was really fun. But it was a struggle because we didn't have that pathway to get there. So, it opens up more opportunities for us to, put together some wonderful small performances. And then, of course, that area is dedicated to E. Bradford Burns. Brad Burns was born in Muscatine, and he moved to California, but he always had the Muscatine Art Center and the Muscatine community kind of in his heart. And so he ended up gifting actually thousands of objects that fit really well with the scope of our collection. And then in addition to that, he also, there was also a financial gift, a bequest that was left. And so the bequest funded the purchase of the Jane House property. And so that's why this area is named after E. Bradford Burns. And, it's just a amazing space that we're now able to really make use of. So once you get into the landscape, you'll see there's it looks kind of a lot of green, a lot of grass, from the mulberry side, but when you walk down into it, you can see there's a lot of different types of plantings. And as those mature, it will really fill out and be
Sure.
just a lovely space.
Well, I'm just fascinated by all of the things that are coming on the path for the art center, and I can't wait to see the Japanese gardens.
Yes,
When
yes.
everything is completed, it's just going to make a campus. Who said that recently? One of the councilmen recently said it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just going to be amazing, and how many people get to really experience art as a result of
Yeah.
all of these things.
And the Japanese gardens, so we did receive a grant to fund a large chunk of implementing the historic preservation plan for the gardens. So that was a little more than $122,000 that came through. It's managed through the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs, but it's actually associated with its federal dollars. So that's really amazing that our Japanese garden project, we can get to work on that. It was developed by Laura Musser McCullum in 1929, 1930, and it was we're just very fortunate that it remained more or less intact, because a lot of these Japanese gardens during World War II were either neglected to the point where they couldn't really be brought back, or else intentionally taken out. So that ours remained makes it really, really special. There were Japanese gardens and rock gardens all over in Muscatine and other Iowa communities that date to that time period, but there's not very many that are still around. And as best as we can tell, this one may be the only one in Iowa from that time period that's open to the public. There's one in Sioux City, South Dakota. Is that Sioux City or Sioux Falls? I can't remember, but that has a historic Japanese garden that's a public garden. But there's not very many of those, and there's only a few maybe in the Midwest. So it's just amazing that that's here on our property, and it's part of the story we tell with the Laura Musser McCullum and her family and the domestic servants that were here. We actually know a fair amount about the gardener who was here working for Laura during the time period when the garden was installed. But we have some gaps in our knowledge, and we've put to work Beth Cody, who's the author of a book called Iowa Gardens of the Past. And so she's a consultant for us. We received a grant from Humanities Iowa to pay her to research some specifics having to do with our garden and the people that worked for Laura Musser McCullum, and also just putting the garden into context so that we really understand, how prominent Japanese gardens were in the Midwest. And we're learning a lot about Laura's life being involved with the Muscatine Garden Club, and of course the Century Club, and there's some wonderful historic footage also taken in the garden. So we have a really, really good idea of what was in that garden and what it looked like. Amazing amounts of rock. So there'll be some change coming, but it all goes back to what was there historically and what's appropriate for the garden. And we've been just thrilled to work with Heidi Homan. She's an associate professor at Iowa State University in their landscape architect department, and she really is the person in the state of Iowa who handles historic gardens. And so to have her involved in this project has just been an amazing resource. Sure. And she actually came out during COVID and studied our garden, and she and a graduate assistant did all sorts of measurements, and they took sort of then and now photographs of, because we have historic photos that show what it looked like in the 30s. And so we because of her, we really have a good understanding of what's appropriate out there. And what we need to do to care for it and to bring it, it's not a total restoration in a way. We also recognize that it's a public space. So there are some things we're doing to improve public accessibility to the garden too. So there'll be an introduction of a new pathway going into the garden, and there'll be some rails that will need to be installed, recognizing that it's a public space. But in the end, we'll get much, much closer to what it should be. And the good news is that we'll be returning that water feature. So hopefully we'll be able to run that water all season long, and not just on 3 or 4 events over the summer. So
well, I'm so excited to learn more information.
It's a big project. And once Beth completes her research, we're going to put together a booklet to help tell the story of the garden. And we'll also have some public presentations to share what she's found. And then I'm not sure if it will happen yet this fall or if it will be in the spring of next year, but the project will also involve an archaeologist. So there'll be a study, and if there are any findings there, then that will certainly be brought forward in our public presentations too.
That's great. I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
The closer we get. Well, you guys have other things going on right now too.
Oh yes. So
Rose Branson coming up.
Yeah, Rose Branson. She's in the process of delivering her work to the Muscatine Art Center. It'll be exhibited on the middle floor of the Stanley Gallery. And so her exhibit opens September 2nd, and it runs through October 31st. And Rose, I think a lot of people in Muscatine are familiar with her already. She was the artist behind Faces of Iowa State.
I loved that.
Yeah, so that was on view here about 3 years ago.
Isn't that long?
Yeah, and she was commissioned to do portraits of Iowa State presidents and faculty and noted alumni. Really, really amazing portraits. But the real thrill for us was that we commissioned her to paint a portrait and do it in front of an audience. So I think it was at the 2018 Ice Cream Social in June of 2018. She painted one of our volunteers, Sandy Hallett, and it was just, she painted for about 5.5 hours straight, and she spoke the entire time, which was amazing. That she could be coherent and so productive. But it was quite impressive, because when she first started the painting, she did these really just kind of alarming colors in a way, as this green. It was I can't quite tell you what I don't, almost like a minty green color, and then some lavender, and those were the undertones for our sitters, skin tone. It was just amazing to see that evolution from, these kind of bold, crazy colors into a portrait that really, really looks like her. I mean, it was just thrilling. So we're always delighted to work with Rose and to have her back. Now, this exhibition she has is called The Optics of Illusion, and they're portraits again, but there's some element that refers to an optical illusion or has an optical illusion as part of it. Her idea is that we need to slow down and really get to know people and understand more about not just the art when we look at it, because most people spend a matter of seconds looking at a work of art, but to really look closely and pay attention. And she talks about how when she paints somebody, she really gets to know them, and her phrase is that she meets their dignity. I like that. But so I think the idea is just to slow down and take the time to, not just make assumptions, but to try to understand. So
Look
her
forward to
challenge,
it.
yeah, the challenge with these pieces is to take your time looking at the piece, trying to see the illusion or understand the message behind it. So yeah. And in the meantime, we still have the exhibition of works by Nancy Judd. She's the artist who did the Alterations, Tailored Solutions to Climate Change exhibit.
Yeah.
And so that's all sculptures that are actually garments made out of repurposed or upcycled materials. So there's some amazing pieces in there. She's got a dress form that the bodice is like moss, and then the skirt, it has it's made out of like fish bones and shells and all sorts of really funky things. And she has some wonderful messages in her exhibition too, trying to talk about what individuals can do to lessen their environmental impact. And, so she uses like some recycled cartons to make gowns. There's some materials that come out of hospitals that are used in some of the pieces. She has one piece that is called the Bee Cape, and it has messages that I think some of them were actually statements that children came up having to do with what bees have taught them, or what are lessons in life that we should learn from bees. So there's lots of different levels to her works. And we have just announced that we're doing a workshop with Nancy Judd. Now, originally she was planning to make a return visit to Muscatine, but with kind of COVID and some of these things being a little more tricky than they were this summer, we've decided to have her do her presentation remotely, but will be in person at the Rendezvous on October 1st. And we're encouraging people to gather a team of, up to 6 people, and you'd share a table. Your ticket includes appetizers and a glass of wine, and Nancy is going to join us, online, and she'll talk a little bit about one of her series in the exhibition has to do with the cost of fashion. And so she'll discuss where our clothing comes from, how it's made, who's involved in making it, how it gets shipped, and sort of the environmental impact of fast fashion. Sure. But after that, then we go into workshop mode, and we're going to have a buffet of materials that people can choose from. And then at your tables, you're going to work on a sculpture in the style of Nancy Judd. Doesn't have to be a dress form, but some sort of sculpture out of upcycled materials. And we'll provide the tools to, be able to make a creation. So the event is on October 1st, and we have just now started selling tickets for that. And
I bet they go quickly.
Yeah, the tickets are $40 per person, and there's for a table of 6, you can go the whole table for $210. And we've also been trying to organize a sustainability fair of some sort to take place later this spring. And so if there are businesses out there that are recycling materials and they want to hold on to that stuff and bring it to the event, they can actually make a sculpture that they could potentially enter when we do the sustainability fair later, or use it to display at your business. So yeah, just trying to have that conversation. And then our next exhibition, once Nancy Judd and Rose Branson, once those exhibitions close, is the Lego exhibit. And so that one's called Sean Kinney's Nature Connects, made with Lego bricks. And it's the biggest exhibition we've ever hosted here at the Art Center. But there are all these wonderful critters that are made out of Legos.
Of Legos.
So
Oh my God.
there's fox and rabbits, and there's also some flowers. I'm trying to think of all the different animals. There's a rose, and just some really amazing Lego pieces that have been put together. And this also ties back to that sustainability message. There's also some building components, so kids can make Legos, make their own creation while they're here. So we'll have to talk more about that exhibition.
Oh, yes.
That's coming up in the middle of November.
Okay.
So yeah, there's time between now
You guys
and then.
have a busy fall ahead.
We sure do. And later in October, we're bringing back the Scarecrow and Jack-o'-lantern competition that we did last year. So that will be out on our grounds too. And we have the forms for people who want to make it a scarecrow, so they don't have to start fully from scratch.
Okay.
And then we'll have the pumpkins donated. So we'll be putting out information about that. And those go on view, I think it's October 28th through like November 1st or so. So they're up for about 4 or 5 days.
Fun.
Yeah, another just sort of fun thing to do, and
yes.
to come out and experience. And we have our usual mini masters classes and kids Saturday workshops going on. Red Barn Studio with Beta Baker, and the DIY nights on some Thursday evenings. So there's a busy schedule of activities, and then on top of it, I know our program coordinator is getting ready to make her way over to Almost Friday Fest.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she'll have information about the different events and
great.
activities. And I think she's maybe got something for kids to work on too while they're enjoying Almost Friday Fest. And she'll be at the community block party too. So you can always find the Art Center's booth at different community events.
That's great. Yes, I'm going to head down there here in just a bit too. I'm going to drive the golf cart to give people shuttle rides up to the event from where they're parking at. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Anytime you do these community events like you do, practically every day, it just makes our entire community stronger together, enjoying time with their neighbors and experiencing the arts and fun and festivals and hands-on and as you say, just sustainability and living green. And I mean, we have so much to learn. We never stop.
Yeah. Well, there's some great things that I think the community should really be proud of. And
oh, absolutely. And our art center, is one of the top of the list. We are so blessed. To have our art center.
And we just had the ice cream social on Sunday, so we just go from one thing to the next. But it was so much fun to see people in real life, and we had a lot of activities going on outside. So
yes,
just made it feel like we're a community, and to have that chance to gather.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited, about the ribbon cutting on September 9th and dedicating the sculpture to Mary Jo and Seeing Step Africa. Please give our best to Chuck Swanson. And we're sorry for the last minute notice for him, but I know he loves to come on and talk about this too. So he's going to be just as disappointed as we are, but that's okay. We can see him on September 9th.
That's right. He'll be there.
He'll be there. Thank you so much, Melanie, not just for joining us today, but for all you do and coming up with all these great opportunities for us.
Yeah. Well, we're so, delighted to share what we have here at the Art Center with the community. And thank you for having me on.
All right. Thank you. And thanks to all of you for joining us today as well. Next week, we are going to have with us Ted Maroff, the Muscatine County Freedom Rock organizer, and they're going to have a smorgasbord on Labor Day. And they very much want the Muscatine County Freedom Rock to be enjoyed by all of Muscatine County. even though it's physically located in Wilton, it does belong to Muscatine County, and he wants everybody to have an opportunity to experience it. If you've not seen it, it's amazing. I just, every time I go to Wilton, I want to go over there and drive by it. It is such an experience, and you see stuff new every time you look at it, at least I do. So we'll talk to him next week. Remember, there's no city council meeting tonight. Head on down to Almost Friday Fest if you can, and big thanks to Melanie for joining us today. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you here next week on Our City.